first heard about the story when Ken Brennan called me out of the blue. He was looking for somebody who might tell this story, and I was the lucky beneficiary. He had read some of my books or had read articles that I'd written and liked the way I worked and offered me this gift. My full appreciation of the story didn't come until I met Ken in person down at the Breakers in Palm Beach, and we sat for several hours and he outlined the story in great detail. And because it is the kind of story that just has one unlikely leap after another, it was astonishing to hear from beginning to end. But even having said that, until I had an opportunity to start checking this story out, because it did, frankly, sound a little too good to be true. And so going to talk to Alan Foote about, who is this guy, Ken Brennan? How did this really happen? Talking to the people at the hotel, basically working my way through the story as Ken told it, and finding time after time that Ken's version of what happened jibed nearly perfectly with everyone else's memory. I realized not only is this guy a really good storyteller, he's a truthful storyteller, and he has an excellent memory. So no, this is Ken Brennan's story. I was just a vehicle for it. There were no repercussions other than people loved the story, got tremendous feedback. I'm happy to say Ken got tremendous feedback. I think he, deserved all the recognition that he's gotten from it. And for me, it was just another great story that I'm proud to have written. I would love to see more investigation into Michael Lee Jones' perambulations over the years that he was at large. I'd like to see someone sit down and draw a map of everywhere he went and start calling around to the sex crimes divisions to see if we can't find out where these other victims are, because it's highly unlikely that the 4 cases that happen to have come to the attention of law enforcement are the only ones out there. It would have to be that sit down with Ken Brennan. It's rare for me to have someone present a story to me or tell their story and then have that check out as thoroughly as Ken's story checked out. So in a way, all of the other reporting I did was just, oh yeah, that's what Ken did, or that's, he showed up here and we had this conversation. And so it was all more just verifying all of the things that Ken had told me. So I remember that sit down with Ken vividly, and it was, as I say it's a gift. He brought me a wonderful story, and I'm grateful to him, and I'm just glad I was the guy who got it. I do. It's a happy outcome as far as I'm concerned. And I think, that I carry a certain amount of continuing admiration, obviously for Ken, who's stayed a friend, and we talk and exchange emails on a regular basis, and he's brought me great stories since this one. And I also think about the detectives who worked with Ken, helped him. I think in particular about this woman in Colorado Springs, who seemed to me particularly earnest and determined, even after the victim died, to make sure that what happened to that woman would not be forgotten and would not go unavenged. She really cares. And I got that from her as well. This is the kind of person you would hope would be a detective working on your case if you were a victim, somebody who really cares.